Good morning. It is Thursday, March 29th, 2012. Yes, Seth here in for Bill today. It is Thursday. Bill will be in tomorrow. We just traded days this week due to some traveling on our ends, and it is a pleasure to be here with you for our third and final hour. If you are privileged enough, as I am, to be able to speak with and attend a lot of different civic meetings and civic-minded organizations, you will hear people say, gosh, I just wish some great young talent would run for political office, people with good character, people with good ideas and strong convictions. And once in a rare while, you get one. And I have been fortunate to meet and look in the eye and share lunch with the gentleman I am about to introduce this audience to, this national audience to right now. His name is Wil Cardon, lifelong Phoenix resident and businessman who looked around and decided it was time for him to roll up his sleeves and enter the arena, in Teddy Roosevelt's phrase. Wil Cardon is a candidate for Senate in the Republican Party to take over the seat that John Kyle is retiring from at the end of this term. And I just can't tell you how impressed I was with this man's conviction, character, and integrity through and through. And I thought he deserved a hearing on our show and with this national audience to tell us a little bit about himself, a little bit about his ideas, and the way he sees the country going. If you are interested in Wil Cardon's candidacy, you can simply go to BillBennett.com, click on his name, and it'll take you to a link to his campaign. Wil, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Seth. I'm doing very well. Thank you. Boy, I don't quite recognize the guy you were introducing there. That's great.
Well, you're humble, but I think people will recognize it when they hear from you more and more as you are getting your campaign message out more and more. Wil, since you are a first-time guest on this show, tell the audience a little bit about yourself. Give us the Wil Cardon autobiography, if you will.
You bet. I'm fifth-generation Arizonan and grew up here in Arizona. Grew up working in the gasoline station business. If any of your listeners have ever seen the movie Raising Arizona with Nicolas Cage, he robs our gasoline stations or our convenience stores for the diapers he needs there.
Uh-huh.
They were called Chore Stop. And so I grew up building those stations, and I was the low guy in the construction crew, the mud hod. From there, was a decent high school football player, was all-state, and went on to play football at both Brigham Young University and then transferred to Stanford and played for Bill Walsh there as a wide receiver. For a while, came back home with a degree in public policy, which is economics, political science, and sociology, and immediately put that Stanford degree to good use at being a repo man. I repossessed cars and did bill collecting and leased cars during the day, which was a great job, Seth, because it taught me a lot about debt and the corners that when you get further and further into debt that you get painted into, and the options that it limits when you do that. After that, went to Harvard Business School, and then came back home and worked my way up the family business. And for the last 12 years, I've been running the business, which is still petroleum, real estate, and then other small businesses like Subway, sandwich shops. And have been running that debt-free for the last 12 years, been the CEO of that for the last 12 years.
Well, congratulations to you on doing just that, Wil. One of the things I was taught when I was in law school by a friend of mine, a lawyer who was a mentor of mine, he says, go into bankruptcy law, or if you don't go into bankruptcy law, spend some time in bankruptcy law because you really get to see the human condition, the full human condition, the full humanity, things you don't always get in corporate law or general litigation or family law. You see a different aspect of what happens, what can happen when people make bad decisions. I gather some of that is true when you were involved in the repossession business as well. I bet you got to see a different side too.
Oh yeah, Seth. That you had a wise friend telling you that. There are, that's the reason I'm running is I can't stand to see our country right now going the way it's going. We are painting ourselves into a corner that we are very close to the tipping point where we can't get out of it. And when you see people on an individual level get in that position, it's crushing. It's crushing to everything around them, their dreams, their hopes. They become less responsive. It's harder to get anything done. And the things that normally would be easy to do in life become harder and harder and harder. And we can't let our country go in that direction.
No, and let it go in that direction we have. We elected a president in some dire economic consequences, and I think the economy had a lot to do with that election. But not 2 months in, he did say he would cut our deficit in our budget deficit in half. And yet at the same time, and since then, he has proposed no budget with less than $1 trillion in deficit spending. He has increased our national debt over $5 trillion. And unemployment at the same time has gone up. These are dire times with us going down the wrong road. It's not a recovery. It's not a recovery at all. It's the opposite of that adage. When you're in a hole, stop digging. We're still digging. Will, tell us some of your ideas about how to reverse and lay that shovel down.
Well, we not only reversed it, we've doubled our speeds in the digging department. We have to change that. I think the only way you do that is by living the way everyone else has to live in life, which is spending less than you take in. You do that in families, otherwise you go bankrupt. You do that in business, otherwise you're out of business, and you have to do the same thing. In the U.S. Senate, there are 100 senators, and according to my research, only 15 of those senators have really been in business before they went and started their public service. And only 2 of those senators have been in business in the last 10 years. And I don't know about you, but after I don't do something for 10 years, it's hard for me to claim I'm in touch with what's going on. And with the state our nation's in, and especially here in Arizona, with the state Arizona's in, we need people, we need businessmen who've actually balanced budget, made payrolls, had to make the tough decisions every week to cut costs or whatever they need to do, whatever we do as businessmen to keep our business going. We need that common sense back in Washington, D.C. more than ever. Career politicians just ought to be a thing of the past. The one thing that ought to disqualify someone for running for office is having been part of the failed last 20 years in Washington, D.C. We have got to change things around.
Well, I know you're singing the song our audience would be the chorus of, and Wil Cardon is who we're speaking to. He's a candidate for Senate here in the United States Senate here in Arizona, and he's happy to take your calls to talk politics with you. Our toll-free line is 866-680-6464. I want to talk to him about a whole bunch of his ideas. We got a sense of him on the budget and a sense of him on business experience. Wil, here in Arizona, we've been on the firing line, on the front lines of the illegal immigration debate. Your position on illegal immigration?
Yeah, I've been to the border many times now and spoken with lots of different people. And the border has to be secured. We have to control the inflow and outflow. I'm in the convenience store business, so I understand taking inventory. We do that every night. And you count the number of loaves of bread and the Twinkies and all the rest. And sometimes you get caught in thinking, oh well, I just won't worry about what's going in and out the door. I'll just start counting. You can't do that. You have to control what's going in and out of the door, and it's the same thing with national security, especially with the criminal element going on. We have to secure our own border, and it is not a hard thing to do. It is a matter of political will. And every time I go to the border, I'm reminded of that. It can be done, and done in a matter of weeks, not a matter of months. If finally someone just says, we're going to do this, we're going to fix the problem, and then we'll move on. The other thing is this great republic needs to be, the reason people come here is for the rule of law, and we've lost that. We have certain laws that are being enforced, others that aren't, and we can't do that. The federal government can't abdicate their responsibility of making sure that the laws that are both from the Constitution and that have been passed are enforced, and that the citizens are protected. And so that's my position on the border, and you have to do those two things, secure the border and administer the rule of law before you talk about anything else.
Thanks, Wil. We're talking to Wil Cardon. He'll be back with us for 2 more segments. We're going into a break. When we come back, we'll talk to him and take your calls. We'll ask him about his views on foreign policy, the Middle East, terrorism, taxes, and a whole lot more. Gil, David, Jeff, we'll take your calls with Wil as well. You're listening to Bill Bennett's Morning in America. I'm Seth Leibson. We'll be right back with Wil Cardon. Stay tuned.